Well, hey there, everybody. Welcome to Mission. I am so glad that you are here today. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Jen Oakes, and I am privileged to be on staff around here. I get to do all sorts of amazing things that I absolutely love, including teaching from time to time. I am the campus pastor of our Oxnard campus, and you may hear that and you might be like, wait, we have an Oxnard campus? And I would say to you, yes, it is coming. And actually, the very last time we met in this room before COVID, we announced we were doing Oxnard and that I would be the campus pastor. And then COVID hit. So, but don't worry, we are really just like everything else. I sort of had to pivot for a second, but God is still working and moving, and we are excited about what He's going to do in and through Mission in Oxnard this year. So stay tuned. You're going to be hearing lots of stuff about that coming up soon. Well, the last few weeks we have been in this series called Fresh Ink, and we've been looking at the ink of Scripture, kind of taking a look at what God has to say and what Jesus said about the kind of people we want to be. So as we start out this new year, that we would ask God, who do you want us to be? What do you say we should act like and be like? And so we talked about what it looks like to act justly, to love mercy, and to walk humbly. That is actually quite simple to just go down to the basics of like love God and love people. Last week, Jody talked about what it looks like just to be salt and light in the world, like to be the kind of people, like when you show up to work or when you show up at home, that you are the kind of person that is bringing salt and light and hope, and you're preserving people around you, and you're loving them well, and you're reflecting God back to them. And when I hear messages like that, it's been so encouraging and inspiring, and it's been reminding me, yes, that is exactly the kind of person I want to be. Sometimes I get stuck on like, but how do I do that? Like, how exactly does that play out in my day-to-day life? And so I've been hoping that it is through doing New Year's resolutions, because I love New Year's resolutions. Anybody else love New Year's resolutions? You can put your New Year's resolutions in the chat right now if you want. Like, what's some of your big New Year's resolutions that you have? Hopefully, no one will hold you accountable to them. But that's the thing. Like, I love setting them. I don't always love keeping them. If you know anything about the Enneagram, I'm a 7 on the Enneagram, which means I like to have a lot of fun. And I also dream really big. And so even just the last couple of weeks, we were kind of laying out what it looks like, what we're planning for this year. And I kind of set my goals, and I showed them to somebody, and they were like, wow, that's a lot. You got a lot on there to do for the next year. And I was like, oh no, that's just for this month. Like, what are you talking about? So, that's why it's a little challenging sometimes for me to actually keep these things that I set. But the reality is sometimes what that does, and it probably has a lot to do with my personality, but I start to doubt that I'm ever going to actually keep them or do them or change, that I'm actually going to make progress or get anywhere, that I'm actually going to become the kind of person that I want to be. And maybe you can relate to that. Maybe you know what that feels like. I actually think all of us, if we're being honest, probably have a little bit of like hope PTSD. Like, the last year, like everything we were like excited about or hoping in, like schools are gonna open. Oh wait, no, they're not. Oh, businesses are gonna open. Oh wait, no, they're not. Oh, I can go get my hair cut again. Oh wait, no, shut down again. Like every time we turned around, it seemed like everything we would start to hope for, get excited in, it would like get canceled or something would happen because of COVID. And I think that it sort of made us a little skeptical about hope. Like, the problem is with that is that if we don't have hope, we can't change. It's like the basis of change is that we could actually hope to be different. Well, I wanted to just encourage you today that we can, as believers in Jesus, we can still have hope. Because we do not hope in this changing world. We do not hope in the government or our schedules or our perfect lives or our white picket fences or our houses. We do not hope in jobs or careers or in our businesses or our schools. We do not hope in our sports teams or the sports that we play or our favorite restaurants. What we hope in is Jesus Christ, who never changes, who's the same yesterday, today, and forever, good all the time and all the time. He is good, the Alpha and Omega, the beginning and end. He has not lost control. He has not forgotten us. He is not worried and he is not afraid. He is working and moving and is alive, and he is our only hope. So putting all our hope in him, that is the key to keeping us steady, us stable and sturdy, no matter what life throws at us. Kind of like this picture of the teeter-totter. When I think about balance in my life, whenever I'm thinking about the kind of person I want to be, all of the things we've talked about the last few weeks, there's a sturdiness, a stableness, a balance that comes alongside of that. And when we stay connected, when we stay dependent, our lives look a little bit like this, like balanced, right? Now, I've done this like 5 times and it's fallen, and that's kind of ruins my whole picture here. But look, okay, so far it's staying. So if it does that, just stay with me. But this cool picture of what it looks like to be grounded in God, who is our hope, who is our sturdy place. And this allows us to do this thing that Jesus talks about, which is to remain here. He uses this word remain in one of his teachings, and I love that he uses this word, because the word remain means that you stay put, that you are steady, that the whole world could be going like this and up and down, but not you. That you remain no matter when everybody else could leave or be destroyed, that you are centered, you are sturdy, and you remain because your hope and your groundedness is founded on something that does not change. And that's the kind of life that I want to live. That's the kind of life I hope that you want to live. This place where we remain in God, where we are sturdy in him. And so how does this work? So I've asked myself that this week as I've been looking at what we're going to look at today, and I'm so excited about where we're going to go because it's one of my favorite passages. It's found in John 15, so you can look that up. You can follow along on the screens. You can look it up on your phone or whatever, but follow along because this is what Jesus says about what it looks like to remain in him in that sturdy place. He says, I am the true vine and my Father is the gardener. He cuts off every branch in me that bears no fruit, while every branch that does bear fruit, he prunes so that it will be even more fruitful. Remain in me as I also remain in you. No branch can bear fruit by itself. It must remain in the vine. Neither can you bear fruit unless you remain in me. I am the vine. You are the branches. If you remain in me and I in you, you will bear much fruit. Apart from me, you can do nothing. Nothing. So Jesus is saying here, the key to that stable life is to remain, to keep the remain thing the main thing, okay? Like to make that the central point. That's actually all we have to do and all we're responsible for. And I love that he gives us this amazing picture of the vine and the branch. Jesus did that a lot when he talked. He would use these things called parables, which are basically like stories or word pictures. Do you have anybody in your life that does that? My dad does that really well. Like if I don't understand something, he'll like explain it in a picture. And then I'm like, oh, okay, now I get it because he's a teacher and he's really good at that. Well, Jesus was the best at that. And he does that here with us today. Even this day, as we read this, we can see this picture of a vine and a branch. And now I don't know how much you know about vineyards and vines and branches, but it was really fun for me this week to actually look into that and read a bunch of stuff about it and watch a bunch of stuff about how this whole thing works. I found so much cool stuff from this picture that Jesus gives us. And I just want to give you a few of the fun observations that I found that I hope will speak to you today. One of them that I thought was really cool is that sometimes the gardener will come up to a vine and a branch and there'll be tons of fruit on it. And for those of us who don't know anything about it, we'd be like, man, that is an awesome vine. Like it's doing awesome. It's so great. Look how much fruit it has. But the gardener will actually cut off a lot of the grown fruit because he knows that that is actually going to cause the branch to get disconnected from the vine, which means it will die. Like it will break off because it's so heavy. And so he actually takes good fruit and trims it and cuts it off and prunes it off so that there's more good, healthy growth that comes. And I feel like that's kind of like what my life has been the last year, and maybe you can relate. Like there were a lot of things in my life that were so good and that I had clung to and controlled really nicely. Some of the things that looked like they were giving great fruit, and in some ways they were, but then COVID happened, and God's so good that he used something like that to allow some of that stuff to just get taken out of my life, and then created this space for really good growth. I even told them in a prayer last week, I was like, I was kind of like a ship out to sea, and there were all these waves crashing around the boats, but I had these anchors, these things that I knew I could just put down and be like, all right, these are the things I count on, and these are the things I can control. And then COVID waves swept my anchors away. And then I told God, but the good news is you can direct me wherever you want me to go, because ain't nothing holding me down, But that's kind of what he does when he prunes this fruit from our lives, and he makes space for us to bear really good, healthy fruit and stay connected to the vine. Another thing that I loved about this picture that Jesus gave is that these branches, they actually, to somebody who doesn't know what they're doing, again, like me, they would go, you'd look at them, and on the outside, they'd actually look dead, like kind of like brown and like ugly or whatever. But if you were just to pick off a little piece of the outside of the branch, you would see that it's green, and it's about ready to burst forth with growth. So I just want to say to you today, if you're somebody that has been working hard on your growth, but it's a little bit unseen, like you're not even sure, like, is this working? Because I still look really ugly on the outside. Like there's still some things that just don't look right? And there's some things that still feel really dead and broken. Keep going. The growth is underneath the surface. And it's gonna bust through all those dead places in you, and it's gonna bring new life and new growth. So just wait. Don't give up, keep going. The gardener knows what he's doing. He knows what he's doing. Other thing I loved about this picture is the branch cannot survive without the vine. Like literally, if you remove the vine from the branch, the branch from the vine, it dies. Like it can't fall on the ground and be done, right? But I think that's so interesting because it makes sense when I think about that. But at the same time, I think sometimes I get it backwards in Jesus' analogy, like I'm the vine and he's the branch. Like as soon as I get my act together, get it all figured out, get it all perfect, and know exactly what to do, then God can bear good fruit. As long as I do everything right, then he now has permission to bear good fruit. And Jesus is like, no, that's backwards. Actually, the way that it works is I'm the one who produces the fruit. I'm the one who gives the good soil. I'm the one who takes in the moisture and the sunshine and gives it to you and says, this is what you should do. And then you bear fruit because I made it happen. We got to give God back that control to be the center, the reason, the purpose. And then he begins to bear fruit in our lives. And we don't try to do it. He just does it in and through us because our job, our one and only job, is stay connected to the vine. And the last thing I thought is so cool about this picture is, well, one of the last things, because there's a few more that just so many cool things. But anyway, that the gardener, actually, the way it works, for him to prune the branches, he has to get way up close. Like sometimes he prunes them, sometimes he like pinches the grape and like turns it a different direction so that it will, have a more fruitful bunch over here. Like it's so personal. It's so intimate. And what this branch needs is not what this one needs, and they need something different, and the gardener knows. And that's how up close and personal God is with us. He likes to get right in there and see you, and he knows you fully, and he knows what you need. Prune, pinch, water, sun. He knows. And he takes care of you in that place when we let him get right up close. And so I love this picture. And I think the point is that Jesus is trying to make is like, you gotta stay connected to me. You have to remain here where I am the vine and you are the branch and you trust me here. And so how do we do this? How do we keep the remain thing the main thing? Well, the first thing I think we do is we learn how to listen. Like we learn how to listen and hear his voice. We apply where he is leading us to every part of who we are, every day, all day. Isaiah says it this way, whether you turn to the right or to the left, your ears will hear a voice behind you saying, this is the way, walk in it. And I love that. That's so cool to me that he's right there. And if I will take time to learn to listen and hear his voice and understand his voice, he's going to show me which way to go. Our family has a family whistle. Your family have a family whistle? We have a fun one. It's just like this. In fact, yesterday I was in the offices. I didn't even know TD was here. And he was in the office and I heard his whistle because he undoubtedly heard my loud voice from down the hallway. And he did the whistle. And I was like, oh, he's here. I mean, our kids know it. Our dogs know it. If we're in crowded Target, we just, we all get separated. It's just a... and we all can find each other again. It's great, right? It's this family whistle because we know when we hear that's how we find each other again. Sometimes I think that's how God works. Like it's this closeness to him, this connection with him, where we understand his character because we read his word and we know who he is. We recognize his voice because he speaks to us and we're listening for it. And then he leads us on where to go. And it leads us to this sturdy, balanced life. I'm going to steal an analogy from a guy named Wayne Cordero. You have to check out this message he did. It's called Deadly to Running. It's actually really old. He did it at a conference, but it is awesome. But he talks about exactly what this looks like in our day-to-day. If we want to live a balanced life, oftentimes we will set a New Year's resolution or make a plan, and we set our little life, flipped it upside down, set our little life on top of it, and we're like, okay, this is good. It's balanced. Okay, now, nobody move. And that's usually what happens, right? But the way that God works, and the way that he speaks to us, and the way that we can live our lives if we learn to listen, is that I believe that he adds a little bit of pressure, and then when we move our heart to where he's putting pressure, we find balance again. So for example, let's say, I feel like my life's pretty balanced. I feel connected to the vine. I feel sturdy in him. But suddenly, there's a little bit of pressure on my marriage. Like suddenly I recognize that I'm not the kind of wife that I want to be, that we're fighting a lot, that there's tension in my home. God might put a little pressure there, but when I move my heart and my attention and my passion and my time to that place, I find balance again. Same thing with your finances or your health. Maybe you're like, it's way more, than fitting into your new jeans. But God's like, listen, you are not taking care of yourself. You are not sleeping. You're out of balance. You have no exercise. You're drinking too much. You're eating too much. You need to apply some attention over there. And then we move our heart. We move our attention. We move our time to that place where he is applying pressure and we find balance there. Honestly, it's why we as a community have gone, there is pressure in our community around racism and people in our community who are hurting. And so we feel pressure there. And so our response should be as Christ followers, man, let's put our attention there. Let's put our time there. Let's ask hard questions there. Let's sit there and ask God, what are you trying to teach me here? Is there any wicked way in me? Show me what it is. And let me find balance in this place. Maybe it's relationships that you have, estranged relationships, pressure. And then you move your attention, your time, your energy, your passion to where he's placing the pressure. And then you find that balance. You find that remaining. You find that sturdy strength in that place. I think he does it with all kinds of things. I think it's why a lot of people wake up first thing in the morning and spend time with him because they know they need to know where he's leading. They need to know where he is placing that pressure. And then that's today where I put my attention no matter what my to-do list says. Annie Dillard says it this way. She says, how we spend our days is how we spend our lives. And I think that is so true. I've loved that quote forever because I think sometimes we want to be this person and we create these big goals, but really it is in the day-to-day, in the habits, in the things that we do that create the kind of person that we become. It's simply this: we wait for God's voice. We pay attention and we show up, and then we trust him to produce the fruit. He is the vine. We're just a branch. But when we stay connected to him, then as Jesus says, we get to remain in him and he'll remain in us. I love the way the Message puts it. It says, make your home in me just as I do in you. And that's safety, and that's sturdy, and that's how I want to live. The second thing that I think we do to keep the main thing, we learn to listen first, and then we learn to trust the gardener. Trust that the gardener knows what he's doing. Trust that the gardener wants to get up close and know you personally. Trust that the gardener sees you, believes in you, has a best plan for you, and will lead you in it when you ask him. Trust this gardener that created you and that wants to do amazing things through your life and bear great fruit. So I have some questions for us today to see where we're at in this whole trusting the gardener thing. The first question I have for you is, and for me, is what is keeping us from letting the gardener get close? What's keeping me from letting him in? Is it shame? Is it pain? Is it doubt? Is it addiction? Is it fear? Is it control? What is it that if I were to think that this gardener cares so much and wants to get so close and he wants to prune something or pinch something or change the direction of something in me that would keep him from doing it, that would keep him at arm's length? Because why? I think it's important for us to ask that question of ourselves. And the next question goes right along with it, because once I've identified what that is, I have to ask, what am I going to do about it? What are you going to do about it? Like for you, even when I said that, what's keeping the gardener from getting close, you knew it. You knew it right away. Some of us, we got to go and we got to say that prayer, like, help me find it. But what is it that's in us that's keeping it close? And then what are we going to do about it? And here's just a hint. Most of the time, he's going to lead you to ask for help, which is the next question. Am I willing to ask for help? Am I willing to recognize that I've tried this so many times on my own and I cannot fix it by myself anymore? That I've tried every self-help there is, that I've always ended up back in this place? Am I willing to ask for help? The other day, my daughter Maisie and I went to one of those places where you drop the Goodwill off, and it's like one of those like giant mailboxes. Like if you're in Ventura, you know it's like a Trader Joe's parking lot. It looks like you pull this lever down, and then you put your clothes in, and then you shut it, and all the clothes go into this giant bin. Well, we go up to the bin, and there is a man who has tried to crawl inside the bin, and all you see is his legs sticking straight up in the air. And it's like funny, but also terrifying. Like what is happening? Like he's going in for a shirt and he's just like, or maybe he dropped something. I don't know. I don't know why he's in there, but he's in there upside down. And so I go over to the bin and I'm like, hey, are you okay? He's like, yeah, I'm okay. And I'm like, do you need help? No, I don't need help. I don't need help. And I was like, I think you do. Pretty sure you need help, right? So actually it was us and this other family, we called the police and they came and they helped him out. But I think that's what we look like sometimes. Like literally, we are upside down, suffocating. Everything's wrong. We are stuck, but we refuse to ask for help. We need somebody to come along who's been in the same position before us and come out to the other side. And we need to ask them what to do about it. We need to ask God for his wisdom and for help. We need to put people around us that can say, let me jerk you up out of there so that you're not stuck anymore, so that you can get out and so you can walk free. Are you willing to ask for help? Maybe it's just time. Maybe we're 20 some days into the new year and you've already broke all your New Year's resolutions and it's time to involve somebody else in them. Ask for help. And the last thing I just want to ask, if you learn to trust this gardener, are you willing to surrender? Like fully surrender to him, to his plan, and to what he has for you. When you learn to trust him, then you're willing because it's the next easy, right step, because why wouldn't you want him to lead your life? And even the next couple of weeks, we have an opportunity for you if that's something that you're ready to do. Like you're like, I'm tired of being a branch all by myself dying over here. I want to get connected to the vine. We have baptism coming up the next 2 weeks. You can. There's going to be a link in the chat that you can sign up if you're interested in learning more about baptism. We'd love to talk to you about it, help you figure that out, help you know exactly what that means. But for every single one of us, even if we have been baptized, this is a daily act to surrender back to the vine and say, God, lead my life. Put pressure on the places that need your attention and help me to put mine there. Help me to ask you and other people for wisdom to direct me so that I can remain calm, remain at peace, and remain connected to you and the fruit that you are bearing through my life in this world. Man, that's the kind of life I want to live. We're going to sing another song today, and while we do, man, I just want you to take some time to let the words wash over you and ask yourself some of these difficult questions and see where God wants to meet you today as the vine to your branch. Let's pray together. God, I love you so much. I'm so grateful that you are the source and that the responsibility is on you to actually produce fruit in my life. So God, help me trust it more. Help us to trust it more as a community. Help us to lean in, to listen, and then to learn to trust you, that when you're pruning, we let you prune. When you're pinching and moving our fruit, we let you do it. When you're cutting off healthy fruit, that we allow it because we trust you so deeply that we know that you are in control and you have not left us alone. And we today, God, just proclaim, we put all of our hope in you. We love you so much. In Jesus' name, amen.
Here I am, down on my knees again, surrendering all, surrendering all. Find me here, Lord, as you draw me near. I'm desperate for you. Desperate for you, I surrender. Let's make this our prayer. Sing, drench my soul. Drench my soul, His mercy and grace unfold. I hunger and thirst, Lord, I hunger and thirst. With arms stretched wide, I know you hear my cry. Speak to me now, oh Lord, speak to me. want to know you. We'll sing that prayer. And I surrender. And I surrender. And I want to know you more. I want to